Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today I want to share with you some steps that are helping me to memorize the Quran. So the trick to memorize the Quran is a simple one, and that is repetition. We want to repeat each ayah as many times as we could, not like 5 to 10 times, because then it would only stick to our short-term memory. But we have to repeat it several times so that it sticks to our long-term memory. And we would memorize each surah just like how we memorize Surah Al-Fatiha. I want to share with you these steps, and I hope and I pray to Allah that they will actually help you to memorize the Quran, and we can both learn the Quran together, inshallah. So step number one is to understand what the ayah means. It's very important to understand what we are saying, because this will help us to memorize them much faster. Step number two, listen to a qari recite the ayah. So you want to listen to like a Sudaisi or any top reciter that we know of, and just listen to them how they recite the ayah, so that when you are memorizing the ayah, you don't make mistakes. And if you do make mistakes, then you end up memorizing mistakes, and it's going to be really hard to forget about those mistakes. Step number three, read each ayah directly from the Quran first. So read it like 10 to 15 times directly. Even though maybe after 5 times you memorize it, just keep going 10 to 15 times. Step number 4, recite the ayah 25 to 30 times without looking at it. So take the ayah and recite it 25 to 30 times without looking at it. And even if you memorize it after 20 times, just keep going, because the whole point is we want it to stick to our long-term memory. And then that's it. So now you memorized ayah number 1. Now we move to ayah number 2, right? The second ayah. So understand ayah number 2. Same process, right? Listen to a reciter, recite ayah number 2. Read ayah number 2 10 to 15 times directly from the Quran. And then step number 4, right? Listen to recite ayah number 2 25 to 30 times. Now another step which is very critical, is we want to stitch the 2 ayahs. So ayah number 1 and ayah number 2, we want to read them together and recite them together. And this step will help us to basically not forget about. So if we read like ayah number 1, if we recite ayah number 1, if we don't read them together, then we would not know what the next ayah is. So we would get stuck. So if we recite ayah number 1 and number 2 together, then after we recite ayah number 1, then we'll know what the next ayah is. I hope that makes sense. So we do that. So we read the 2 ayahs together 10 times, and then we recite ayah number 1 and ayah number 2 about 25 times together without looking at the Quran. And then we move to ayah number 3, and then the same process repeats again. So understand, listen, read, recite. Understand, listen, read, recite. So we do that for ayah number 3. Then we move to ayah number 4. Same process. Then we stitch ayah number 3 and 2 together. And then when we go to ayah 4, we stitch ayah number 4 and number 3 together. So after completing 1 page, right, we recite the whole page like around 10 times. If you do make some mistakes, it's okay to go back and then recite those ayahs where you made the mistakes again. So for example, I have Quran here open to Surah Ghafir, ayah number 59 at the top. I'm not sure if you can see. So ayah number 59 would be ayah number 1, then the second ayah after that would be number 2, so on and so forth. So I would read ayah number 1 and for example, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الساعة لآتية لا ريب فيها ولكن أكثر الناس لا يؤمنون. So this ayah I would say it 10 to 15 times, looking at the Qur'an. Then I would repeat it or recite it 25 to 30 times without looking at the Qur'an. So after I finish this ayah, then I go to the next ayah right below it, and then I would correct this. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِي سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. Again, so this ayah I would say, I would read it 10 to 15 times, then recite it 25 to 30 times. And then I would stitch them together, put the two ayahs together. So I would read them 10 times, and then I would recite them about maybe 25 times together. And inshallah, if you follow this procedure, I think you will memorize the Quran faster and better, inshallah.